Jirbre, tell us a little bit about where you grew up.
I grew up in Sumter, South Carolina, a country town, um, where like people ride lawnmowers to the store, chickens everywhere for the most part, and horses. Um, you know, where I grew up, from where I grew up, I didn't see a lot of opportunity. So, my mom, it was it was four of us, including me, so it's five basically. And like, just growing up, like my dad died, so my mom raised us, and it was always just graduate high school and just get a job. But deep down, I knew I wanted more. Like, and in high school, you always got an idea about what you want to do, but you never know like how to get there. So it was a big transition, like deciding, okay, I want to go to college now, and people in my family was like, nobody really went to colleges. And I was like, yeah, I know. So I tried it out. And, after a while, I stopped going for a while. And my auntie, um, I was working with my auntie at a factory. And like I think I told y'all the story before. She cussed me out every day and told me like I needed to go back to school because I don't want to be old doing this like her. So I didn't do it at first, of course. So she just cussed me out every day. And eventually I signed back up. And I just did it because I was tired of hearing him out. So I worked at the factory and went back to school and got my associate's degree in science. And after that, I was like, okay, let me look for a job. This when the pandemic hit. So it was 2020 when I graduated. Pandemic hit. I started looking for a job. Still no job. So I decided to go back to school when my grandma passed. Um, Went to Morris College. And I told God, any opportunities you got coming my way, I'm going to say yes to, no matter what it is. Like I'm going to do it. So I'm realizing like, well, I knew when I was in high school I wanted to be a doctor, but nobody in my family are doctors. You know, my mom worked at Amazon. Most of my family worked like factory jobs. So I didn't really take my grades seriously as I should when I was getting my associate's degree. Um, my grandma helped me with my science courses. We stayed up late studying, so it's always gonna be shout out to my grandma. Um, and once I got to Morris, I started taking my grades in school more serious. Like I'm older now, so like I realized like okay, I at least need good grades. So my first semester, A's and B's. And Dr. Ali came up to me. He told me, "Hey man, you got good grades." He was like, "Well, if you keep it up, I can give you a full ride." So I went home to tell my mom, and she was like, "That's good, because we don't got no money to pay for it. Like, so you need to do something." So of course, second semester I did good, and he sat me down, gave me a full ride. He paid off my debt, so I don't owe no debt. And that's and eventually, that's when I met you guys. Emily Washington, my best friend. I actually didn't have an invitation to come to E2P. She invited me. And so I went. And of course, like we just kicked it off in E2P. Like I found it like so interesting. And of course, like, you know, each one of y'all told us like, hey, you know, if you want to learn more or you just want to talk, just email. So that was God right there opening the door. So I was like, well, you know what? Let me just email because I find E2P interesting. It's infectious disease, so it's interesting. So and at the time too, like I didn't know really, I didn't have an idea on what type of doctor I wanted to be. So I found that just me opening the door and just reaching out and just seeing what I like, and I realized that was one of the best things I ever did. Seriously. So, that got me to and that got me to where I'm at right now, Zooming with you guys.
Wow, Jirbre, thank you for that. So your auntie has inspired you, your grandma, your mom, and getting you to E2P. what was your first impression of E2P? Even and thank you for sharing like that you showed up there. And it's always fascinating to see how life does what life does. So what was your first impression of walking into that space and seeing our three faces?
I was I was nervous. I mean, you always nervous. Like you don't really know what's going to happen. You know, you don't. I mean, I only know Emily, so like E2P was very like you know y'all were very interaction. Like it was a lot of interaction. So y'all asked questions. Y'all wanted to know like what did we know, what we didn't know. Did we ever heard of the prep program? So like it was different. And plus like I enjoyed like science courses. So like it was also good to see like what I was learning in my science courses was like correlating with what y'all was talking about also. So it made it more easier and it was more easy to understand. Plus it was more insightful than the surface level that we was learning in our science course. So after a while, like the second day I was comfortable because by that time, we was already talking and we formed a bond. So yeah, after day one, day two, I was comfortable. I thought it was good. Well, it
Great.
is good. It's a great program.
Thank you. And Jabri, you said you decided to reach out and you reached out. Who did you reach out to?
I emailed Dr. Okeke first, and then I emailed the rest. I emailed both of y'all afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dr. Okeke, what was your impression of first meeting Jabri and then Jabri reaching out to you?
Yeah, I think so Morris was one of our actually later workshops and but I remember like after the program was done his personality kind of like stuck out to me and so now of course as I always am I'm swamped and so I didn't have any intentions of reaching out to anyone and so but when I got the email from him I knew exactly who it was and I was pleasantly surprised and I was like, all right, this is great. Like God is connecting us, and so let's kind of make it happen. And so I quickly kind of mobilized to really say, okay, well, like let's get reach out to me. I'm gonna say like let's get on a 30-minute Zoom. Let me just figure out like where you're at, like what you're doing, and but it was really particularly exciting because I remember his charisma very distinctly and his kind of like joy for taking this difficult but professional path very very early on. I just wanted to kind of like use his energy to kind of like help him move himself along through this path. And so I think I was happy to have that opportunity.
Thank you. Dr. Ware, what about you? What was your impression of Jabri?
But I thought even at the workshop, before he reached out, so he mentioned after day one, he felt, pretty comfortable. And that was apparent, during the breaks. My initial impression, I remember, I think I might have apologized to Jabri. We were talking during the break, and I feel like I don't know if he had enough time to eat. We had a really good conversation like between the breaks, and I just saw some of that passion then. I was, hoping, as Dr. Okeke alluded to, we kind of we make this general appeal, and I think Jabria said this as well, to students, wherever we go, like, hey, we were accessible, we want to help you. And then, unfortunately, we don't get the response hope that we're hoping for. But I think with Jabri, when I remember talking to him, what stuck out to me was I really hope this guy follows up. Like I really hope he, keeps in touch with us because he's and just by the questions he was asking, between the breaks, I was like, yeah, I really hope he follows up. So to be here now in this moment, going back to those times we were talking during the break, I really think that speaks a lot to him. And he would, sometimes people can be a bit more performative, in the moment, right? They're kind of, because everything's new and it's exciting and it's something different. But I think his sustainability and his longevity with this, right? And kind of saying, no, it wasn't just hype for him, so to speak. Like he's demonstrating that he's interested in it even up until this point. So I think that's what I take away from it is that it wasn't the allure of the moment and it's just something different. And then it kind of just fizzled out. He really walked it out and I couldn't be happier for him.
Thank you for that. And Jabri, you mentioned attending a conference. And that conference that you're speaking about is United States Conference on HIV/AIDS, and that was held in Washington, D.C. So think about the first interaction you had with E2P, and then being invited to show up and be a part of a panel at USCHA. So talk to us a little bit about that. What was that like for you? What was that experience like for you related to E2P? And then doctors Okeke and Ware, I'll ask you the same question related to that, to have Jirbre be a part of that. So Jirbre.
It was nerve-wracking. You know, of course, you know, talking in front of what, like 60, 70 people, and you know, just being able to like tell my story. So it wasn't hard to tell my story, but just being able to firstly get on the plane, you know, I'm scared of heights. Then, you know, just to go to Washington, you know, and speak in front of people, telling my story was incredible, nonetheless, but also nerve-wracking. And being around a group of people, like, cause it was like four of us, talking on the panel. So just getting to connect with them and hearing their story, and just hearing their story and hearing how they grew to the person they are now, and seeing why. Like, it was one guy, he was a mayor. I can't remember his name. I still got his number, and it was just powerful to hear like where he came from and what he's trying to do in his hometown, being the mayor now. So like it's extraordinary and powerful just to know like people like me who came from like nothing are now in a better and in a more powerful position to make changes in their community. So, you know, that really took it home for me.
Thank you, Jirbre. Doctors Okeke and Ware, what are your thoughts related to that panel session we had at USCHA and Jirbre's participation?
No, I think it was a wonderful opportunity because, you know, I ultimately our model in building E2P is one that I believe has limited impact unless the model is scaled. And I think having a platform like USCHA to inspire people to try to like look at other models and models similar to this, kind of expand the reach of outreach efforts and really recruiting the next kind of like workforce of Black and brown people who are who are taking up the career of ending the HIV epidemic and being in HIV care as part of their life's work, I think is key. But of course, like anything else in life, the stories of the people impacted by such programs are the best marketers. I could sit up there and talk for 45 minutes at a platform like USCHA. And it's when Jirbre tells his story and his experience, and Gary, Russ, and Shri and others go up there and tell their story, that you start to be like, oh, well, this is a thing that clearly impacted some human. It's not abstract. It's not someone trying to sell a platform. It's actually has impacted the lives of individuals. And so I think having that platform to have them tell their story about how it's impacted them, I think was particularly powerful and hopefully inspiring to the people that were able to hear their stories.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Okeke. I definitely resonate with everything what you alluded to there. And I think back to when Jirbre landed at the airport, and we were helping him kind of navigate, the whole airport situation. And I think, to me, that I think holistically, that's what something like E2P is about. I mean, we want to hear your story, then I think people benefit from your stories. But when people talk about being there for you and supporting you, right? I think it's a holistic approach to that. And so I think about the airport experience because it makes me chuckle something. Because I think when I first time I flew on a plane by myself, and it kind of centers you, it's the person who's helping, right? Even I'm sure like there at Duke, people think like Lance just talked about, Dr. KK talked about how someone gave him a star. And so when you pour into people, it kind of reminds you of kind of where you come from and how the challenges you had. And, so I think about the airport experience, but obviously on the panel, it really is cool to see kind of that footprint of E2P and how, like Dr. Okeke mentioned, I mean, it's not just data, it's not pre and post surveys. I mean, it's people's lives changing for the better and what they're doing with their careers and the people that they're able to meet. And so that's, I think it's so many cool things about E2P, but I think the panel is one of those kind of tangible moments. Like it's just kind of the outgrowth, right? Like this is something that 100% is this because of the work that we've been able to put in and just the longevity of the program. So I looked at the panel as like a cool culmination of like, wow, like we Lance Russell and I got into a room and we were talking about this some years ago and like, look at it, right? Like it's almost like your kid graduated from school, right? It's like you kind of see it grow up and you say, man, we were just talking about this, like three guys with passion, just kind of trying to figure out even a name for it, right? And then you get to a panel discussion like that. So, and to see people like Jirbre benefit from it and others, kind of who don't know each other and everyone has kind of that similar story, right? So I look at that as that level of commitment as the E2P leadership team, that we brought that same zeal to each place. It wasn't like we went to one place and were like, oh, I'm too tired, we just kind of fall off at this one. Because I feel like everybody's story was so consistent, across the different programs. And I think that's what makes it special is that, we've been blessed to have good health and zeal to go to these places and create that experience, not just in Morris, but everywhere we've been, right? And so I think I take that from the panel discussion because it was cool to have Jirbre there, but I feel like we could have had another subset of students who would have had that same kind of adoration for this program. And I think that's what really tells the tale.
Thank you for that. And what, the panel was amazing. What I enjoyed the most from USCHA was the brotherhood and bonding that we had at dinner. That was just amazing, just to be in community with you all and to just talk and Jirbre, just to see your joy and to hear you in that way was just beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. And Jirbre, we talked a little bit about your journey. So we talked about you being at USCHA, and then you just recently were invited to spend time at Duke. Dr. Okeke, I want to ask you, because you spoke to the fact that not all the students follow up. Jirbre did. So can you speak to what has happened since the time of meeting Jirbre for as part of E2P to where you are now in that journey? And then Jirbre, would love to have you respond to how E2P has influenced you. So you've been on the move, Jirbre, but Dr. Okeke, I take it that you all have been having some regular interactions for you to extend that invitation to Jirbre. So maybe the two of you can talk about that.
Yeah, since the workshop, Jirbre and I have met roughly quarterly, either by phone calls or by Zoom. He has my cell phone number, so whenever he wants to talk, he just kind of texts and reach out to me. But I've been keeping tabs on his progress in terms of like him walking the path and recently graduating from college. And which is an amazing accomplishment. He doesn't know how proud I am of him. And so we've been keeping tabs about quarterly, just to kind of make sure that he's still continuing to move towards that path, towards his dream of becoming a physician. And it's been great, and I think the cool thing about our conversations is that honestly, like sometimes it's about school and professional aspirations, sometimes just about life, what I mean? Like, and so not to get into too many details of conversations that we have, but I mean, that's where, like, in thinking of my style of mentoring, it's easy to kind of like live on the axis of seniority and less experience versus more experience, and it's harder to actually live on the axis of like two humans just kind of interacting and having a genuine concern of how well we're navigating this crazy life that we live in. And so, and that's where I like to live. My style of mentoring is like really saying, like, I see you as a human first, and we're just navigating this crazy world together, passing on things and experiences from further along the road in this life than you. And that's all I'm doing, really. And I think he's been receptive to that kind of style, honestly. And sometimes those experiences pertain to the fact that, like, yes, I'm in the profession that he aspires to become a part of, and we'd be happy to have him of. But I mean, sometimes it comes to just kind of like another one black man talking to another, being like, hey, you know, I'm about 15 plus years ahead of you in this here game. Here are the things to look out for, or whatever. And I think I enjoy it because in that style, it's those interactions are enriching to me more than a way of like, let me see like the level of accomplishment he's in, but really it's like, let me get to know who he is, see how he uses the special and unique traits that he's received to kind of navigate this life as successfully as he can over during his time on Earth. I think you know, I talk about those special and unique traits. Jirbre, I hope you have the picture still of the picture you took with the nurses at the rural clinic
Yeah.
we have in Henderson, North Carolina. It's a clinic in Henderson, North Carolina, HIV clinic that he shouted me at. It's all run by Black women, completely owned, run, operated by Black women. And again, those special traits of his charisma and his warmth, in 3 hours we were there, kind of pulled them all to him. He was little cuz by the time he left. Little cuz by the time he left. He's only there 3 hours. 3 hours. And Felicia and Rita and them were all like, yes, this is little cuz, like, hurry up and get here, you know what I'm saying? And I love that. And so that's kind of the energy that I've been enriched with in terms of like being serving as a mentor and as a advisor to him. And that's kind of what we've kind of created in the couple of years since our workshop in Sumter at Morris College.
Yeah, because Doc know I'm gonna email. Then if I don't get an email back, I'm gonna text. If I don't get a text back, I might call him. Like you know, I do appreciate him, like, because I know he's busy. So like, and I know, you know, life happens and you just start to overlook. But I do look at, you know, Dr. Okeke as a mentor, like a father figure, you know, someone that I strive to be as a person, because, you know, outside of just helping people, you know, he still finds time for his family in real life, and he's there. So that's the type of person I want to be. Like, I don't want to be so caught up into what I got going on that I can't be with my family. And you know, I see how he interacts with them. That's the type of person I want to be. So like, I look at things like that, and I soak it in, and I try to hold on to it, because I know like that's really the type of person that I want to be as a man. And you know, he's very helpful. You know, he helps me with, like he said earlier, just picking back, like, just I done call him about life, school. I done cried to him, like we done had some real deep conversation, and it actually showed me like I got somebody on my corner, and I got somebody that actually want me to like succeed in life, because you know it's hard. It's hard for me to like define people that I can really open up to, and you know, and just be able to tell like when things going on in your life, what's going on, you know, some setbacks that's going on in your life, and also tell them when good things going on in your life. You know, just like I told y'all earlier, like you know, I told you know earlier, you know, just recently got me 2 jobs. Both of them are chill jobs. So like, I'm working in the hospital. You know, I got a lot of time to study. You know, draw blood. You know, run tests. You know, in the hotel, I got time to sit down at the front desk, do my work, mind my business. So like, you know, those are the things that, you know, that I appreciate, just being able to call them and tell them what's going on, and you know, just being involved with my dreams and goals, and you know, the whole process of helping with the MCAT, because you know, I'm the first in my family that's doing something like this. I don't you know, I don't really know how to navigate. So you know, between Dr. Okeke and my boy Mike, like they make this process way easier than I thought it would be.
Jirbre, let me ask you, what are your goals beyond? You just graduated. Where
Mhm.
where do you want to go? What are your goals?
I mean, of course, my first goal is the main goal is to get in medical school, like get in medical school, and you know, become the best physician I can be. That's the main goal. But you know, the sub levels of the main goals are, you know, of course, to like right now, I'm grateful that I just got a job, you know, a couple weeks ago in the medical field. So now I'm around it, you know, talking to doctors on the daily now, and just seeing the behind the scenes more than just being able to shadow and just look. Now I'm the one running the samples. Like I'm the one talking to the doctor. So like I feel like right now that's a goal that I can check mark off the list. So like I do have a couple ideas of, you know, what kind of specialty I want to do. I do like ID, you know, I do like well, I like a lot of things. Like everything I see, I like. So that's the problem right now. So you know, just being able to find out to narrow down what I really want to do. At least top 3 for sure. But you know, just yeah, without saying a lot, I said a lot. But yeah.
Love it. Jirbre in the candy store. I love it.
Mhm.
So, Jirbre, you started out by talking about the community that you grew up in, and you seem very committed to making a difference. How would you like to help those in your community who are impacted by health disparities? Because we talk a bit about health disparities as part of E2P, but how would you like to help those in your community who are impacted by some of these health disparities that we've talked about?
Yeah, that is actually a primary goal of mine, is to come back to like Sumter, South Carolina, and I want to open up a free clinic. But you know, every time I think about it, I always think about like something I learned from you guys. Are my ideas feasible? So like, yeah, I can open up a clinic, but you know, like y'all taught me, what happened if they don't have a ride to the clinic? So yeah, you have a clinic, you know, in your neighborhood, but it's a lot of people that don't have cars. Or you know, people want to eat better, but a lot of people can't afford to like eat better. A lot of people can't like. So you know, in my journal, like I got a couple ideas, but I'm trying to like start thinking of ways to like help out, if that makes sense. Like trying to find like, can I? Is there a way to access certain rides to come to the clinic? Like, I do want to help people get like healthcare. I do want to help people like get certain treatments for different types of like infectious disease. So like it just, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's very broad right now, and I want to make sure that it's possible to get done. So I'm trying to think of a good way to do it, and it's hard. So you know, because sometimes you like I come up with an idea and I write it down in my notes real quick, and I'm like, okay, this sounds like a good idea. But like when I do a little research, I'm like, okay, that probably won't work. So, and then you know, when you're out and about, and like I don't, for the most part, I stay in an okay neighborhood, but you know, I still feel like it's certain things that in my community, like I know we need a free health clinic so people can get tested on I mean, I don't want to say on a regular, but just get tested regularly. But the thing that I see is like people don't have enough, or people don't have no health insurance. But going to like Duke, I know now that there are programs to offer free healthcare. Am I right, Dr. Okeke? Like,
Yeah. Yep. Mhm.
yeah, so like to offer like free healthcare. So it's possible to definitely get that done. So my biggest concerns right now is how am I going to get to people? Because if I can get a car and I can go there, but if people know what this car is for, people are not going to come because the car and what it has written on it is stigmatized. It's so like, and I recently had a conversation with I forgot her name. She was with you, Dr. Okeke.
McKellar, Dr. McKellar.
Yeah, Dr. McKellar. Dr. McKellar told me about it. Like she went out in the neighborhood and they had a van, and like certain people came to the van, but they didn't want to get tested for certain things, or they didn't want to come inside the van. So it's a touchy subject that needs a lot of tender love and care and thought behind it.
Thank you for that, Jirbre. So, Jirbre, you've talked about a few different things, and I just want to return to the relationship that you've had and that mentorship with Dr. Okeke. As you think about the next phase of your journey, is there anything in particular that you need from Dr. Okeke, tying it back to this mentorship piece? And the second part of the question is, have you been able to share with your, your fellow former students what E2P has meant to you, and the importance of having a mentor, someone in your corner to talk about life, to talk about your career path, all of those things? So wanted to put those questions out there too. You can answer both, or you could,
Yeah. Hold on. So give me the first question one more time. I'm sorry.
So yeah, so just thinking about the relationship that you have, and where you want to go in this next part of your journey. What do you need from Dr. Okeke to help you get to that place? And then I'll pause there and then give you the second part of the question.
Okay. Dr. Okeke he did it. Dr. Okeke, you're doing an incredible job. I don't like whatever I ask, like he got an answer for it. Like, and he's very, very helpful. I can't even because he does so much for me, and he is extremely helpful. I just keep doing what you're doing, please, because it means a lot to me. It really does. And like I said, I know you're busy. I always tell him I know you're busy. And sometimes I do get nervous. I always tell him if I text him or if I email him, I like to email first. So I might email 2 or 3 times and I don't get an email back. And I get worried. I'll be like, oh man, what's going on? So now I had to text his phone. And then I'm like, okay, everything's good. He's just busy. So and I understand, I understand. So I just, he's on point with everything. I don't think he needs to change his outlook on everything, how he handles everything is and he explains it to you why he thinks this way. He's like, okay, this is why I think this, and this is why I do this. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. That makes sense. So I'm like, okay, I get it. I respect it.
Thank you. So the second part of the question, or this other question I'm posing to you, is when you think about how you have benefited from this relationship with Dr. Okeke, have you been able to share that with other people that you were part of E2P with, or friends or family that, because you talk in the way that you speak about how this has impacted you is something that's very special. And is it something that you talk about with other people? Because not everybody has a mentor. So
Yeah,
just one.
yeah. I'm sorry, but yeah. I talked to some of my old friends that still go to Morris now. I talk to them and I tell them about the program. Her name is Olivia. I always tell her about what I'm doing with you guys. I mean, of course, my family knows, so they're always excited. And I just tell Olivia the things that I learned, about ID and just about HIV, and because I tell everybody about it, because I try to do away with the stigma of HIV and what we think HIV is, because in the Black community anyway, we got a stigma behind it. So I try to tell people now everything I can about hey, you shouldn't think that. That's not right. And so my family now has become more, because at first my whole family was tense about it, because they still had that old school mentality about it. So it was real just tense. And so after I started talking to them and telling them about it, it was oh, okay. So now my mom's more chill about it. My auntie, my brother, they real more chill about it now. Plus they just seen on the news this week about, the 2 shots you can get a year now. So I guess now they starting to see it. So now it's starting to reinforce okay, Bree know what he talking about. So to my other classmates and like my old friends that, you know, I did tell them about the program, and I told them like, it's like, cause it's bigger than like E2P. Like it just, I try to give them life lessons. So like, because if I didn't, if I didn't tell God to like, hey, give me an opportunity and I'll take it, I wouldn't have, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So I try to encourage them to go out and do something that make them nervous, because you know that's when you see them to grow. Like for me, that's when I see them to grow. So like, I just try to, and then but when they see me like going to Washington, going to Duke, that do encourage them to like be like, hey, maybe I should step out of my comfort zone, or maybe I should email this person and see if I can do, you know, da 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 da, A, B, and C and D. So, and I'm seeing it now because they're telling me. Like, so yeah, if that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. Dr. Okeke, I'm going to ask you this question. So when you invited Jirbre to come out to Duke, what were the factors that said to you, okay, Jirbre needs to come here? What led up to that? Just thinking about all that Jirbre has said, because clearly there's a connection that you all have maintained, and this is an important relationship to you. But what was it that convinced you that Jirbre needed to come out to visit and see what you do firsthand?
Yeah, you know, so I think for context, Russell, we had 4 other students there at the same time Jirbre was there, and you know, it was just I didn't really kind of want to go through like an open application process of all the former E2P alumni. So I just kind of like went through the list and said, okay, who are the people that I know based on what I know would actually benefit the most from such an opportunity. And of the 270 plus students that we've impacted on this journey we've taken together, Russell and Kenric, I think Jirbre was definitely by far one of the top 5 that I could think of. And you know, I think, thinking about it, I heard Jibre's story about like coming to DC and coming to Duke, and like and talking about his community and people getting out of their comfort zone and being uncomfortable. And I just kind of always go back to like, you know, if we can be the facilitators of not letting someone's geography be their destiny, then let's do it. So by just moving physical space alone, you alter destinies. And the fact that he was open to that, like getting on that plane, as nervous as he was, another plane, and those little short hoppers from Charlotte to Columbia, I don't know, I'm not sure how big that plane is, right? Is really not just cool, but it's courageous. And you know, I can't say it enough that what you said, Jirbre, about like telling your peers at Morris, because honestly, I'm gonna keep it so real. What concerns me sometimes when I go into our classrooms at HBCUs is that I see the defeatism in the face of a lot of our students. Like they don't, it varies by college, of course, I'm not going to name names. Like in some colleges, like they seem empowered and ready and eager to lean into the talents that kind of they've been endowed with by the creator, and compete against the world, no matter who, no matter where. But in some classrooms you walk into, there's this kind of like self-fulfilling defeatism that is apparent on how people interact with you. And first of all, Jirbre, you didn't have that, so that kind of stuck you out in the crowd. Like, okay, well, he's ready, so we can go. But I think the message you give of having people kind of push towards and live more ably with that discomfort, to push into that growth mindset of being able to live with that discomfort and going to a place of discomfort to pursue that growth, I think is a powerful one, you know. And I think for you, honestly, is like, especially living in a place like Sumter, South Carolina, where it's easy to kind of like assume that your geography is your destiny, that your station is exactly where you are. It's to really kind of continue to do what you are, to bring a challenge in that every day when you meet people, to say you don't have to be just a prisoner of your geography, right? And what that means also too is, I mean, yes, if your goal is to come back home after you've gone around the world, around the country, to pursue skill sets that are not available in that place, to kind of give back, that's fine, right? But I mean, I think immobility is is one of the biggest kind of barriers to personal growth and socioeconomic advancements. And I think you fighting against that by telling them your story about pushing past your comfort zone is but in and of itself a very, very powerful one. So I commend you for that, and I hope you continue to do that with your peers.
Yes, sir. Will do.
Yeah, thank you. So, Jirbre, just want to wrap up, and I'm going to get some final thoughts. I'm going to start with Dr. Ware, if you have any final thoughts, then go to Dr. Okeke, and then Jirbre, you'll have the final word.
Well, yeah, again, I appreciate being here. And yeah, I think my final thoughts would be kind of what you just said, Jirbre. I think the peer education, the peer inspiration that you're giving to people in your area, I think that's really, to Dr. Okeke's point about that defeatism and just people feeling they don't have a shot. When people can see, like, no, Jirbre is from where we're from. Like he went to school where we went to school. I think that is something that really does more for people than you'll ever know. And I definitely want to leave you with that, is that don't feel like you're trying to shine or you're bragging or you're gloating. Like, no, tell people like this is, and then remind them like, I'm from the same place that you are. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I think that really is how you start to combat what Dr. Okeke described as really a dire situation. Because if you don't have people to intervene and do that, right? I mean, it's kind of it's a self-fulfilling prophecy almost, like it's not going to be interrupted. So I put that charge to you, is that if you don't ever feel like, you have to dim your light, so to speak, like, no, tell people like, this is what I've been doing. But then also couch it with, you can do it too. And what can I do to help you? Right. And you talk about, and I'm not speaking for Dr. Okeke, but you talk about adoration for people and for mentors, then that's how you pay it forward. You say, well, look, I've learned some of these things that do, let me put you on to what I've kind of learned about. Let me tell you about how I overcame my fear in DC to speak in front of people. But I think I definitely don't want you to lessen that, is that you really do have the power to help people right there where you are. And that's where you kind of move that needle on your community. And that's how it moves forward, is that you become that light. And they can't argue with you, right? Because it's like, well, they know you. They know it's not a clone. They know you were here. They knew you grew up in the same environment. So then the question becomes, well, why not us? Right? Why can't we do it? He did it. We're looking at him. We hang with Jirbre. We grew up with Jirbre. Like, if he did it, we can do it, right? And I think that's the power that you have within you. So definitely keep that in mind.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Okeke.
Yeah, I love what Dr. Ware said, honestly. I think the one of the operative words that he used was light. You are the light that kind of brightens up many rooms that you walk into. You know that already. But you're also the light that illuminates the way in terms of opportunities that are available to your peers, right? And that's a big charge, because now the expectation from us is for you to continue to do that for your peers, to proliferate, to multiply your impact to the world. I mean, because you're a light for good. You're a light for enlightenment, for education, for advancement, for self-growth. And so having that message is one that I think is really, really, really powerful. And I think, I mean, the other thing that I didn't talk about much, but I want to let you know, Jirbre, is that I want to thank you for enlightening my life, in that we know our time is finite. God willing, I'm a little bit past halfway through my time here on Earth. At the end of the day, with our time being finite, with our influence being limited, no matter what, it's really the ability to kind of illuminate minds like yours and influence lives and trajectories to perpetuate our life's work and impact beyond what we can ever do on our own. That really gets me up in the morning, honestly. And this is there are many ways to do it: research accomplishments, publications, whatever. But for me, the most fulfilling way to kind of extend one's kind of like time on Earth and pass it forward and do as much good as you can while you're here is by mentoring and really kind of like being here to pass on experience to people like you. So I just want you to never forget the fact that, when I wake up in the morning, you're really in many ways my reason why. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity of being a really shining example of why we do this. It's self-evident, the appeal to this. And I wish that many of my colleagues and many of my peers had the opportunity to kind of have their lives illuminated by people like you and extending their experience forward to the next generation of amazing physicians and people that influence how our society moves to the next decades and beyond. So thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you for
Thank-
that.
Thank all y'all. Actually, you know, I just like this this for all of us. You know, I just want us to like keep shining our light, even if it blinds people. You know, we'll be coming to the room sometime. You know, some people might overlook us, and you know, that's why I'm loud so they can hear me. So, you know, my goal is to like change the world, because you know, I don't want to die and nobody remember me. So that lets you know how big my dreams and goals are, because I want to like when I die, I want the world to know that Jibre's passed away, and I want to be remembered for generations, not just the next, not just 2 generations next or 2 generations over. You know, because I did think about, you know, my grandma, you know, she passed away, and my nephew, you know, he was around, but he was too young to remember her. So a part of her died in his head because he don't remember her. So when I die, I want my kids to remember me, and that's also through interaction with other people, because I want to inspire and live in other people's hearts and minds for generations to come. And I want us all to, you know, do the same. And you know, this right here is just like a stepping stool to something bigger that God has planned for us. So, you know, I just want to let you all know, like, I really appreciate you guys and the program and just the life lessons, the just hearing you guys' goals and you know, just being able to listen and be a listening ear, and just being able to like listen and be like, dang, he did it, I can do it too. So, you know, that's one of the biggest things for me, just hearing you guys speak about what you've been through and how you got through it. And, you know, just hearing how God just moved y'all lives into the point y'all at now, and just seeing the impact y'all making on people y'all encounter every day. Like that's motivation enough.
That's a wrap. You did it, Jirbre.